driving a TRex in the city, and I realized that's different from driving one on a sand dune somewhere. Or, I felt ridiculous. I felt like an asshole. I took up way too much space. You couldn't park it in a parking space and open the doors because it's on both white lines. I mean, and I felt like an asshole.
This isn't a T-Rex
And by the way,
thing.
I felt like just as much of an asshole driving the electric Hummer. So it's not a gas versus electric.
He doesn't like any of the cars that you do.
Yeah, do you see Josh is that guy?
T-Rex
Yeah, Josh is like,
not
dude,
T-Rex
fucking
guy.
H1 Hummer,
No.
H2,
H1,
T-Rex.
yes. H2, no.
Dude, I owned an H1 Hummer. In 2006, I owned an H1 Hummer. It was my only car. It was my daily driver. And I wanted to be somebody that I definitely wasn't. And that's why I bought that car. And I felt so dumb driving it. I felt like instantly, for a week or two, I was like, I'm the coolest guy ever. Fuck you. I'm a badass. And then I was like, I'm not this fucking guy. I traded it straight up for a Mini.
Oh, wow.
I went the other way.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. I am Josh Henning.
I'm Phil Gerber.
I'm Jeremy Gerber.
Matt Farah is the executive producer and host of the Smoking Tire podcast and YouTube channel. The twice-weekly podcast covers anything from industry news, automotive icons, pro drivers, and whatever else Matt and co-host Zach come up with. The YouTube channel boasts more than 1 million subscribers. You can also follow Matt on Instagram at The Smoking Tire.
How you guys doing?
Good, man. How about you? You got yourself something to drink? Are you comfortable? You ready to rock?
I have a lot of driving to do today, so I'm sticking with water. I apologize. I'm no fun,
That's
but
all right. It's a
I
response.
drank about 3/4 of a bottle of vodka last night at the Burt Kreischer show in Phoenix, so I think I need a day off.
You're making responsible choices. Well, Matt Farah, welcome.
For once in my life, yeah.
Welcome
Thank you,
to
guys.
Oil and Whiskey.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I like your studio over there. It's nice looking.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Huge honor to have you on. We've been fans for quite some time, and we're honored that you decided to come on and do this.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. I have to spread the gospel of my own podcast. That's what I'm really here to do.
Spread the
Talk
word.
about myself, my favorite thing. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, get it out there, man. Dude, I got to tell you, there's so many of these car review shows on YouTube, so many podcasts, and I'm like the least tech savvy guy that I almost listen to none of them except yours.
Oh, thank you very much.
Anytime I'm on YouTube, there's always super rad stuff. So I'm very familiar with it. Love all the stuff you review. Envy the job that you have.
It's a good gig if you can get it. Yeah, I certainly have my share of fun, and I think I invented the crappy quality car reviews. I really became the McDonald's of low budget car reviews in 2015, 2016, which I started doing out of disdain, honestly, and because we couldn't make any money doing actual production. So I was like, fine, can't make money doing any production. I will do exactly the amount of work of the money we can make. And that strangely worked out.
So I was kind of wondering how you get started, because it's not like you can decide you're going to do a podcast or do a YouTube car reviews and jump into a LaFerrari. So you got to start with
Right.
a Beretta.
Well, there's a couple ways to do that. Right. When was the last time I saw a Beretta on the road? I'd love to drive a fucking Beretta.
You and me both.
I bet you mid-condition Berettas are rarer than LaFerraris now.
Probably.
I started. I've always been into cars and reading about them and driving every car I could get my hands on any chance I could. And so back in 2005, I had a variety of car related jobs. I worked at dealers, I worked at rental companies, and I started a car wash with a guy named Larry Casilla, who is now one of the best detailers in the world. He has a YouTube channel called Ammo, and it's really, really cool. He does detailing videos, and he's a real heavy hitter. But we started a car wash together. We were friends since high school. And then in order to get people to come to the car wash, this was in the suburbs of New York, we started a driving club. And that way people would go out and get their cars dirty driving them, and then we'd go back to the car wash and wash all the cars. And then when YouTube launched in 2006, we were pretty much just like, hey, we could make videos of our group drives and share them with people, and that would be like good marketing for the car wash. And so we hired a camera guy, and literally this was like a month or two after YouTube launched, and so we started making videos about these drives. And the cameraman that we hired was like mainly did like skateboarding videos, and so our videos kind of like had this vibe of skating videos, but like with cars. So there was the wide angle lenses, and the guy would hang the camera out of the car. This was like before the GoPro existed. So we had this a tape camera, and we were hanging out of cars at 150 miles an hour doing these drives. And one day the cameraman came home with like a microphone, like a news anchor microphone, and he was like, I bought this, you're the host of the video now. And so I started yucking it up with people, sort of doing like man on the street type bits, which rapidly evolved to me driving my car wash customers' cars and giving my thoughts on them. I spent 2 years working at this exotic car rental company, so I actually had quite a lot of experience driving exotic cars, experience for a 23-year-old, and so that just kind of, once I started doing car reviews on video on YouTube, I realized, how much more fun that was than running a car wash in the suburbs of New York. And so I sold the car wash to Larry, and I went off to make videos full time. And it's not really a story that could happen again, because I didn't immediately start the Smoking Tire. I actually was hired by a guy. I had made, maybe 10 videos in my life, and one of them happened to be seen by this guy named Emil, who just got out of prison. Not then, now. He's a criminal.
I was going to ask.
No, not then, now. We didn't know he was a piece of shit back then, but we know he's a piece of shit now. And yeah, he stole a lot of money from a lot of fucking people. But he had something called Next New Networks, which was a very early version of what you might call a multi-channel network now. Now, today, a multi-channel network is something that exists virtually. There might be a management team sitting around a table running the show, kind of like you guys are doing over there. But then the channels could be, one could be making videos in New York, one could be making videos in California, one could be making videos in France, and on and on and on. And you sell the ads, collectively, and they aggregate them together. And that's how that works to get better rates, right? But in 2006 and 2007, the multi-channel network, literally everybody went into one building together and made videos from there. So there was my channel, which at the time was called Garage 419, because it was on 419 Park Avenue in New York City. Terrible name for a show, but whatever. There was a show called Fast Lane Daily that was, for a long time, was the longest running continuous show on YouTube. It was a daily show that ran from like 2007 to 2019 or 2020. And then I think the most famous show that was made at that network was, do you guys remember, there was like an early viral sensation, this chick that was called Obama Girl, who would basically just do weird cheerleading shit for Barack Obama and when he was running for president.
I don't remember that one.
No.
You don't remember that one? I mean, it's one of those things that, like, I don't know. It circled around at the time and whatever.
It wasn't the one with the one cup, was it?
With the what?
The one cup?
I think that was a few years after.
Okay.
After, yeah.
Oh, you mean like two girls, one cup?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that was a couple years later, but not much. Yeah. So anyway, that we did that for a while, and then the economy crashed in 2008. That whole company was sold to Google for pennies on the dollar, and I moved to California because I now knew how to make videos, and I knew the entire process of how to successfully share videos online, and I didn't need a management company to do it for me anymore. So that's, and then and then been making videos ever since. So that's kind of the flow. And now I write for a magazine too, so I'm kind of working backwards, I guess.
Well, I guess it's way easier to do videos year round in California than it is in New York. I mean, what do you
100%
do in the winter?
Yeah, no, it was 100% true. And that's why I came out here. It wasn't because the real estate was so affordable. It was we had done a couple of trips. When it would get cold in New York and snowing and whatever, they would send us out to California to gather content that we would then, and I was like, once I realized, like, hey, if we're going to be paying for this ourselves, like, we can shoot year round. We're not going to get rained out or snowed out, and I could drive sports cars in the winter. And it was and also at the time, and to go back, it seems kind of silly now, but to go back to 2007, our goal with the YouTube show was not to be big YouTube stars. The goal was to really have an ongoing reel for cable television. I mean, we wanted a TV show. And that's kind of like, charmingly old school by today's standards, but that's what we were going for. And so we felt not just, yes, the weather's good. Yes, LA is where the biggest press fleets are, and press cars are the cars that I drive, provided by the companies for journalists to drive, and biggest fleet in the country is here in LA. So all the good cars come through here, but also it's where the TV studios are. And now that I've done some TV, I'll never do it again.
So you're pretty satisfied with the direction that went, that ended up being a YouTube sensation rather than being on like a network show where you got a series that you run, X amount of seasons.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I've done both. I was on a show called Drive on NBC Sports, and there were 5 seasons of that, 10 episodes a season, 5 seasons, and that was really fun. Excuse me. I really enjoyed making that show. I made it with my friends. It was very low budget. It was a grind for not much money, either to me or to that Al that made it on the screen. But it was fun. But it just, the way that TV is made and sold today, I don't love it. I don't love the process. I don't love that it's not made by people that, for the most of the time, it's not made by people that are truly passionate about the product they're creating. I mean, there were a few people, he's far from perfect humans, but the team making Top Gear, the original British Top Gear, were truly passionate about the product they were creating. Anthony Bourdain and his team, truly passionate about that kind of product. Guy Fieri, different type of product, but truly passionate about what he's doing, and doesn't want to dumb it down for people. And
then you have like Mario Lopez, like super passionate about wherever he can get a gig.
Mario Lopez. Have you seen Mario Lopez's house? I'm not gonna. If you want to go make a beeline for corny ass TV, Mario Lopez is the benchmark.
Fuck, sign me up, dude. I mean,
yeah, but what happens, when the networks are shopping, they're really kind of they're intentionally making mindless TV, intentionally. And there's a real formula to it, whether it's Pawn Stars or Storage Wars or house flipping or car flipping. It's the same formula. It's this sort of ragtag group of somewhat hokey, but also kind of smart in a savant-y way, frenemies, that are friends or family, but also fight,
Do you think that is because the networks looking at their audience, do you think they don't think the audience is capable of comprehending more, or do you don't think they think the audience wants to comprehend more? Do they think?
I think they don't think the audience wants to comprehend more. Look, I'm not saying I'm too good to watch shows like that. I've watched Pawn Stars before, and I've watched Storage Wars before, and when I want something on in the background, you know, a dumb, mindless show, fine, and if that's what the people on those shows want to make, like, God bless, go make that. But I've, you know, at a certain point when I thought I had no other options, I made a couple of pilots for shows that were kind of like that, car flipping, fixing shows. And I wanted to blow my fucking brains out the whole time. I mean, it was so, it was all fake. You know, none of it is real. You know, none of it is. And I would try, I always kind of wanted to make this show that was much more Anthony Bourdain parts unknown. And, but, you know, it's a show about people set against the backdrop of food, right? That's what parts unknown is, right? It was one of the best shows ever made.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do a car version of that. If you go into a network meeting and say the words Anthony Bourdain, the meeting's over. You know, they pretty much assume that guy was one in a billion and no one else could do that thing. And maybe they're right. But I always thought there was room for a car-centric show like that, which is a show, you know, because you can learn a lot about someone's culture by how and what they eat. You can also learn a lot about someone's culture by how and what they drive.
100%.
And I think, you know, a show about people and cultures set against the backdrop of cars would be fun. That's what I'd want to make, but no one's ever wanted to make that.
But that's why the streaming networks have it figured out, because they did a good job with Chef's Table. I mean, that's the Chef's Table is very it's not Anthony Bourdain, it's not parts unknown, but
no, yeah, that's a great show, and it's very successful, and it has a couple of things, interesting aspects to it. I mean, how it's shot certainly, right, and scored, but also it's hostless. It provides zero editorial besides what the chef themselves says. There is not a point of view of Chef's Table other than the chef's own point of view, and that's fine. It works for that show.
They need to get fucking Mario Lopez on there.
Oh yeah,
you know?
they had Mario Lopez
tasting the food
table.
Yeah. Hell yeah, with his shirt off. I mean, you know what?
With his shirt
no,
off?
Yeah. What do we?
No, go ahead. With his shirt off.
Yeah, I was yeah, we're rolling. You know, we're kind of rolling.
Taking it back to what you were saying. Sorry. At the beginning, when you're doing those videos, you talked about, you know, wanting, you know, doing these as reels, wanting to get a TV show. When you're doing this early stuff, do you have, because you're also like, we're dealing with the OEs, you're trying to get drives, you're trying to get press stuff, and you're unknown at that point. You're trying to get your name out. So in that point, is your headspace, I'm going to do me and be the way I am, and fuck it, they're going to like it or not? Or are you trying to find your lane, and do I be really super professional and pompous? Do I try to be like, you know, cool and funny? What is your mindset of how you find, one, you've got to make these other people that you need the cars from respect you, you know, but you also got to have like an audience, and you also got to be true to yourself. That's a different navigation.
Sure. Yeah. And you asked a couple questions at once there, and I'll try to put them all. No, it's fine. I just want to put them all into one thing. One is it's not that I can't be anyone but myself. I am incapable. And that's part of the reason that I'm good at my job. And it's also part of the reason that I'm not good, that I would not be good at a regular office job. You know, my wife is in the corporate world. And when she talks about inter-office politics and what's going on with her team and her bosses and her direct reports and this and that, I'm just going, I'd be fired on day fucking 3 of that. I mean, that's just not, you know, I it's a good thing I work for myself, because I don't work well for anybody else. So I fortunately, it's weird. I'm unaffected by cameras. You know, for someone who's like overweight and in general kind of self-conscious about my body and my appearance, I'm deeply unbothered by the presence of cameras. And so the presence of a camera will very often change how a person acts.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change how I act at all. So that's, I had that going for me, and I don't know if I was born with that, but I was pretty good at it right away. And I never wanted to be on a camera until all of a sudden I was. So there was that. When it came to getting press cars, when I started with that show Garage 419, I started as a host, then became host and producer. But there was a guy, you know, because we had those two car shows there, Fast Lane Daily and Garage 419, there was a guy on that team whose job it was to get press cars. So they are in the very early days, this guy whose name was Tom, he would call the manufacturers and these cars would just sort of appear and I would get to drive them and make videos of them. So I really had this leg up that I didn't have to figure that out for myself in the very beginning. There was a guy who did it. And then I had that show for about a year and a half, and it was long enough that I developed a body of work that once I moved to LA, I said, hey, you know, I'm Matt, I'm out here now. Here is my work. So you can see I'm not just a random idiot. I'm taking the effort to do this professionally. And in the beginning, you know, our production quality was incredibly high. We didn't start by making very low budget, crappy videos. We started by making television quality videos on YouTube. It was just that after 2 years, we realized we were losing crazy amounts of money by spending 5 days making one video that would bring in $1,000. It was like our math was bad. It wasn't that we couldn't make quality. So the manufacturers were impressed by this group of kids who were making high quality stuff and consistently. And you know, you can criticize a car, even if you're a new journalist that really hasn't made the name for themselves. You could be the guy or girl or whatever who regurgitates the press release and be in good with all the manufacturers forever. If that's what you want.
Be the dickhead that's like, this is a piece of shit.
Well, you can't say this is a piece of shit. You can criticize specific things, and if you make an argument that is thoughtful and defensible, even if it's negative, the person who gets you the cars is not the person that designed that car or that feature. Their job is to put that car in your hands. And so as long as they're not getting a call from their boss going, who's this amateur jackass calling our car a piece of shit without even saying why? Yep. You know, then you're not going to get a call back. But I've been able to criticize car. I literally, you know, in the beginning when you can't get very desirable cars, you're kind of getting whatever they'll give you. You know, it was tough. You get a car that I'm into sports cars, and my first ever press car was an Toyota FJ Cruiser. And, you know, at the time, that car was not the sort of cult classic collectible that it is now. It was a trucky, you know, clunky, slow, you know.
Did it come
SUV
with Tivas? Did it come with Tivas to drive it, or?
We actually had a great joke. We said FJ Cruiser stands for fucking Jersey Cruiser. And I thought that was one of the funniest jokes we ever wrote. Toyota hated it. Toyota thought that was not funny at all.
Well, dude, I will say, when I watch your stuff, you have a very good way of like rolling out that criticism because it comes across super honest. You know, now you want to watch the show because you're like, hey, this dude's not full of shit. Like it's
authentic and you can relate to it.
Unless it's a T-Rex. Unless it's a Dodge T-Rex. That one
okay, I didn't watch that one. went hard.
He went pretty
that
fucking
one
hard.
That wasn't even a video. That was just an Instagram post. People were unhappy with that. But I'll you know what? I'll stand by fucking everything I said on that. You may not have to like it, but I'm not backing down an inch from that. Which is an appropriate thing to say when you're driving a T-Rex. If you don't have any more inches, you've taken them all. Fucking T-Rex. I mean, what a, you know. And by the way, what people don't really consider about the T-Rex is about that Instagram post that you're referring to is the first half of it. First half of it is positive. I wrote about, 250, 300 words that are positive, and I wrote about another 250 or 300 words that were, just let's just not even negative towards something the truck does badly. It's just
it was more about the culture. It was more about our culture.
Well,
today.
it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's the problem. We are. We are unfortunately, and this is my opinion, and you're free to have a different one. But we have this culture of sort of performative sustainability that's not real sustainability. But then we also have this sort of the opposite of that, which is just like, fuck yeah, yeehaw, motherfucker. Like I'm gonna take up as much space as I possibly can. Like my truck is bigger. My truck is more powerful. My truck is more wasteful. Oh, you want to drive an efficient car? Well, I'm gonna drive something that gets 6 miles per gallon just to spite you. It's like, it's kind of insane. And that's I driving a TRex in the city, and I realized that's different from driving one on a sand dune somewhere. Or, I felt ridiculous. I felt like an asshole. I took up way too much space. You couldn't park it in a parking space and open the doors because it's on both white lines. I mean, I felt like an asshole.
This isn't a T-Rex
And by the way,
thing.
I felt like just as much of an asshole driving the electric Hummer. So it's not a gas versus electric.
He doesn't like any of the cars that you do.
Yeah, do you see? Josh is that guy. Josh is like, dude, fucking guy. H1 Hummer,
no.
H2,
H1,
T-Rex.
Yes. H2, no.
Dude, I owned an H1 Hummer. In 2006, I owned an H1 Hummer. It was my only car. It was my daily driver. And I wanted to be somebody that I definitely wasn't. And that's why I bought that car. And I felt so dumb driving it. I felt like instantly, for a week or two, I was like, I'm the coolest guy ever. Fuck you. I'm a badass. And then I was like, I'm not this fucking guy. I traded it straight up for a Mini.
Oh, wow.
I went the other way.
Polar
well,
opposite
I was going to
there,
ask, and again, this is a discussion. It's not an argument. I'm not a T-Rex guy. You know that. I mean, everybody knows that.
You could be, though.
No,
yeah.
fuck you.
You fit the mold.
You
fit the mold.
You could be.
No, my only thing is, despite the sheer size, take away the sheer size of the T-Rex, basically all the arguments you made, and they're valid arguments, but at the same time, and again, no disrespect, because I respect it, the Countach. Like, I mean, in
you're gonna try to compare it?
I'm not.
Countach?
No, I'm saying from his statements about the T-Rex and everything that it is and why it really shouldn't be held to the standard that it is. I mean, talking about gas mileage, talking about practicality, talking about all that stuff. But the Countach is also not those things. But it's fucking cool.
The Countach is not so big that it inconveniences other people.
Okay, so the size is the major.
The size is the major thing because look, that Hellcat engine is in 75 cars that Chrysler makes, and I'm not talking about those.
Right.
And also, by the way, the Countach is 35 years old, so I can forgive it not getting great fuel economy, and it goes 1,500 miles a year. But for me, the TRX and the Hummer and the Raptor they're just so enormous that you can't really help but inconvenience others around you. And I don't believe in that for myself. You want to drive a fucking T-Rex, drive a T-Rex. Like I'm not trying to stop you. I'm not saying this vehicle needs to be outlawed. I'm just saying that if you are driving one of those as a commuter vehicle in an urban or suburban area, as I see many, many people doing with Raptors and TRX, this is how I will think of you.
You're an asshole. Yeah,
maybe you don't care. Like, if you don't care, fine, don't care. I don't drive what the fuck you want. Right. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to drive what you want. You should. But like, I've driven that car and I can tell you how it made me feel. And it made me feel like I was taking up other people's space. and hoovering up space and resources that were inconveniencing others for my choice. And I don't really like that so much. And so, that's just like, all right, fine. And there's nice people who drive those things, you know what I mean? But like, that's how I felt.
Oh, I got it.
When I'm driving something. Same thing with a fuking H1. I felt like I was commuting in a school bus. It was insane.
Yeah, Schwarzenegger had one. That's fucking...
I see Schwarzenegger. I see he converted his to. He's got a hydrogen one, I think now. He's got an electric one. He's trying to do a thing. We're not really buying it over here, but he's trying to do a thing.
Oh, more Countach talk because
shift
I know you
want
to get into the Countach.
Yeah.
So
I got the poster up there.
I see that.
Damn.
How did that come about? Obviously, I'm sure that just like everybody, that was a dream car. So,
I wrote a very big check.
So you not only have driven one, you've owned one.
he's redoing
I currently own one.
Damn.
No, I currently own one.
It's the one in the picture, right?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I had a friend. Actually, I've done a couple of TV shows, and one of the producers on my first TV show, which was on the Speed Network, I did it with Adam Carolla and John Sally, the basketball player, and Dan Neal. It was just called The Car Show. Very fucking creative. And
Is the job done?
It was fine. And it actually had a chance of being a good show, but like many shows, it was ruined by people who the people in charge did not actually listen to the passionate experts. But that notwithstanding, one of the producers, who was a passionate expert, had no power, but was an actual passionate expert, owned this Countach, among other very cool cars. It has a really, really neat collection. And I drove it for a video. There is a video from like 2014. It's one of my most viewed videos of all time, of me comparing that Countach to an Aventador favorably. Because I did not like the early Aventadors. Another thing I will stand by. They got better. They got a lot better. But the early cars were awful. And so I made that video, and then let's see, that was 2014. And 4 years later, the gentleman called me back and he said, "Hey, I need to sell the Countach. I'm trying to buy a ski house in Tahoe or something, and I gotta cash out some assets." And he didn't say, "Do I want to buy it?" But he said, "Do you know anybody? And maybe I can cut you in a little bit if you make the connection." And I was with my friend at my house, who was a dear friend of mine, this guy Carl Ruiz, who was kind of a famous TV chef in Guy Fieri's circle of people, and he's this Goomba from he's a Cuban Goomba from New York. And I go, Carl, I think I might be able to buy the Countach my friend owns. And he just goes, "Cuz you don't buy that car, I'm gonna throw you off this fucking roof right now." And so I did buy the car, and it was a lot of money. It was probably probably too much. But it actually, now that was in 2018, and now 5 years later, I look like a genius, because what seemed like a lot of money at the time was actually less than half of what one would go for today.
But you still haven't finished the restoration yet, right?
No. I bought it ready to go.
Okay.
I mean, I bought it fresh out of a service, and with a brand new clutch and a fresh service. And I drove it for 4 years. I put about 8,000 kilometers on it. It's in kilometers. So I got it from 26 to 34,000 kilometers. And I only ever had like one or two little hiccups with it. I got stranded once. Fortunately, I got stranded right in front of my favorite restaurant in Malibu. So there's worse places to get stranded. I also have a Ferrari 328, and I had the Ferrari completely gone through. I mean, really, the once every 35 years, do all the rubber and all the plastic and the bushings and the shocks and all new brakes and all new lines and all new hoses and on and on and on and on and on. And it was expensive and it was annoying, but when I got the car back, the 328, I was like, oh my God, the difference, for years, people had been telling me like, oh no, 308s and 328s are supposed to be kind of shitty. That's how they were.
Sure.
And that's completely wrong. That's not true at all. They're supposed to be very good. These were the most expensive cars in the world at the time. They're supposed to be great. And so after getting the 328 back, I realized where I started and what the car should be like when it's very fresh. And I went, you know what? The Countach has some of that little kind of loosey goosey going on too. And I think, it's time that we commit to really getting it right. And so I went to my guy, Donnie Calloway, who was a genius with 70s and 80s Italian cars, former Ferrari master tech, and he's got his own little shop now. And so we're doing the same thing with the Lambo. It's literally we're not taking the body off of the chassis, but engine out, gearbox out, suspension completely apart and replaced, every bit of rubber and the shocks and it's all Heim joints. There's no traditional bushings. The whole car is Heim joints. So we're replacing.
Soft.
Yeah. 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 And there's 6 shock absorbers. There's dual shocks in the rear. There's a bunch of really wild stuff that's on that car that's very rooted in motorsport. And so, but all of the Heim joints were all trashed. Like,
sure.
I had a control arm in the front that was bent, like just shit, just stuff, that happens after 35 years of not being, it wasn't that it was neglected. It's just that like, old. It was fine and it was old. And so, so it's right now it's in pieces. And my Donnie just got back from Retromobile where he was shopping for parts for me in Paris. That's where you get parts for that thing.
Is there anything that's actually like performance oriented about that car, like the driving experience, or is it just,
oh, it's great to drive. Really? Yeah. Most people who, even
I fucking love them, right? But
yeah,
you hear
look, they're not, it doesn't feel modern. The problem with a lot of Countachs is a couple things. One, a lot of them have been, they got to a point in the 90s and early 2000s where they were cheap enough that people would buy them for 80 grand and then not want to do a major service for 50, and you can kind of understand why. And they looked good in people's collections. They didn't really get driven. The rubber got rotten. The seals got rotten. They leaked. And when you could still buy a manual transmission Ferrari or a manual transmission Lamborghini new, the old ones didn't have that sort of analog charm you were looking for, because you could still get that in a higher performing and newer car. I remember when I was in the early days working at the rental car company, I drove a 25th anniversary Countach, and I drove a Diablo, and compared to a stick shift 360 or a stick shift Mercy, they were clunky and shitty. But now you can't buy a stick shift Ferrari or Lamborghini anymore. And if you want a truly analog experience that's actually surprisingly usable, the stuff from the 80s, once it's sorted, is very good. The downsides with the driving experience are that the car has 11 quarts of oil it carries, and it's a dry sump, and so it takes forever to warm it up, and it's pretty clunky until everything is warm. And so if you let it sit for more than like a week at a time, it takes even longer to warm it up, and it's even clunkier. So a lot of people that get to have a go in a Countach, it's in someone's collection. They go, okay, have a go. They start it up from ice cold. They drive it 3 or 4 miles, and it's clunky. It's not great. It's not been heat soaked. When I get in my car, it takes about 45 minutes. Really 45 minutes to really heat soak. And so you can't just get in it and go around the block and have a good experience. And I would say the same thing about the 328. The 328 takes a shocking amount of time to warm up properly also. And once it's heat soaked, it's very slick and it's great. Last month, I drove the 328 900 miles from LA to Phoenix and back. Oh my God, it was the best. It was the best. I stick that thing at 94 miles an hour on the freeway, and it's just settled and the light controls and beautifully slick gear changes. And I mean, it's just the best. And the same thing with the Lambo. I drove the Lambo from LA to Santa Barbara, and if you drive that car 2 or 3 days in a row, that third day, I mean, no one's going to do it, but if you daily drove that car, it would be the best car you do, because it would never get fully ice cold.
Sure.
It would retain a little heat inside. And if I drive it 2 days in a row, oh, it's so happy.
Damn.
It's so happy. And it's a wonderful touring car.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking my language. I am so into that era of supercar. I mean, I've been jonesing for a Testarossa forever, and I'm always...
They're great, really, really good cars. You ever drive one?
Never driven one, but always searching for that white on white, like the right car. Because you got to be careful. I mean, I don't have to tell you, but like jumping into purchasing something of that era, you can really fuck yourself. Like, I feel like you could buy something that...
Oh, I mean, my Ferrari 328... Dude, my Ferrari was fucked up. My Ferrari, fortunately, it had never been crashed or salvaged or anything, but it supposedly came with a fresh major service, and the paperwork was completely fraudulent.
All of
the
them are
major
sold
service
that way,
did not happen.
Isn't every Ferrari sold as
just
just major service?
Yeah, that's just in the auction. I mean, that's just copy and paste.
No, this one, the service wasn't done. And it had all kinds of stuff that needed unfucking. And fortunately, Donnie, we went through it, and I committed to the car, and I got it for a good price, and so we got it right, and I didn't lose my ass financially. But with the Testarossa, they are built really well. I mean, really, really well made cars. And they're really easy to daily drive if that's what you're feeling. The more you drive them, the better they get, just like the Countach. But the ergonomics are very good. The steering is very good. They're very comfortable and roomy. They have a lot of torque. You don't need to, the Lambo's got really not much torque. You got to rev it. 328 has no torque. You got to zing it to the moon. But the Testarossa with that flat 12 engine, tons of torque. So you don't have to rev the snot out of it all the time to get it to go.
You like the early ones, right?
They're really well made.
not the flying mirror. I like the later, like an 89, 90, that era. But man, it's just tough to I don't know, and I'm not plugged into that community enough to know where to search. Other than you see something pop up on Bring a Trailer or something like that, but man, it's just, you're so leery about.
I feel like this conversation is not helping.
Oh no, he's 100% encouraging me.
Yeah, that's right.
We're fucking buying one. We just got to find one.
I would honestly
where do I
use
find
I would call your guys' clients. I would look for. I would go through a private sale. Maybe a higher end broker, and I would do it that way. And I would call if there's a great independent Ferrari service shop near where you guys are. I would just put your hat in the ring and say, hey, if you guys have any clients that are looking to sell, give us a call.
So
that's probably where I'd start.
We've got Lake Forest Sports Car right by us, who's huge Ferrari dealer. They've been in business forever, tons of motorsports stuff. So I went in there to pick up a car for a customer of ours. So I started shooting the shit with the guy, and I told him what I was looking for, and he just shit on it. He's like, "What is the matter with you? Why would you? That car sucks." He's like, You do not want
really?
to. He's like,
he's wanting to sell you a new one.
No, he said if there's anything, you got to jump up to the 512 TR, the next era, because
they're double the price.
Right, it's double the price.
TR is really expensive.
That's like a $300,000 car. I'm like, dude, that's he just said it's
no Testarossa. I mean, no, the Testarossas are nice. They're not. I disagree with that assessment. I mean, The 512 TR does drive better. I mean, it does, but a Testarossa gets you 85% of the way to a 512 TR for half the money, and it's just that with TRs, with 355s, and 348s, they're engine out. It's an engine out service, and it's a pain in the dick, and it's expensive, and if it hasn't been done, it's going to be $25,000. It's expensive.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. I like my 328 because you don't have to take the engine out for anything. You do the belt service with the engine in the car, and instead of 25,000 for a major service, it's $5,000. Not bad. And I also do for me, the 328 is a little lighter on its feet. It's not as wide. You know how I feel about very wide cars. Yeah, but no, I disagree with that assessment of the TR. I think I've driven 5 or 6 different versions, and they drive when they're sorted out and they're good to go and they got good rubber and good tires on them. I think they drive really nice.
I've got a question. So you've got the Countach and you've got the 328. You made one of the most eloquent and best arguments for your color choice on the frozen berry. Because of who likes it, right? And it makes perfect fucking sense.
That's one of many things. Well, but that's true.
It's a good looking car, but at the same time, he makes it. We laugh about it in our industry all the time about driving the cars that we build and stuff like that. And your dream as a kid of what you thought was going to be interested in what you were driving, and then reality of the white New Balances and the guy that's like, that's fucking badass. So he made a great argument about if you're going to choose a color, and I'm not trying not putting words in your mouth, but paraphrasing what you said, if you're going to choose a color of a car, choosing a color of a car that females like is not a bad choice, right? He's married. We're married. We're all married. Stuff like that. You're not looking to pick up chicks, but at the same time, if you've got their acceptance, that's really kind of more important, or their interest than the dude that you really don't want to spend the fucking time talking to at the gas station. My question:
the dude will talk to you anyway. If it's a cool car, the dude will talk to you fucking anyway. It's just it opens you up to a different type of conversation with a different type of person who you wouldn't normally talk to about your car. Go on. What was your question?
So what is the difference in those types of people, if there is any, driving the Countach and driving the 328 that come up to you and acknowledge that car? Because that's two very similar but very different.
Yeah. Well, the Countach is, wherever you go with the Countach, you have won. You are the winner. You are the winner. You wherever you go with the Countach, you're the main character. You're the winner of the day. And so, if there can be a winner of cars and coffee, the Countach, you've really got like 4 or 5 cars that are, it's the Ferrari F50 or F40,
the TRex,
the Countach,
the Vector.
There's a Vector, a Vector. Oh, yeah. But you want to talk about conversations with people you don't want to have, drive a fucking Vector. That's so. What I love about taking the Countach out, on top of the reasons I've already said, and actually driving it and living my childhood fantasy, is that at least once every time I take that car out, somebody says to me, "This is the first time I've ever seen one." They are so rare, and the ones that exist are taken out in public so rarely that when you take it out, it is virtually guaranteed someone will see a Countach in the wild for the first time ever. Oh. And they will often find ways to tell you that has happened. And that is a really nice thing. It's like showing them Santa Claus or something, they didn't really imagine it to be real until here you are with it. And that's very cool. The Ferrari, what's cool about the Ferrari is it's old enough now that you're no longer the same, like Nicolas Cage and Gone in 60 Seconds. You're a connoisseur. You're not a self-indulgent wiener. It's not like showing up in a brand new 488 or something. You're not that guy. You're now a man of taste. Especially because mine is black and not red. And so if it's a non-red Ferrari, that helps. Of course, the Lamborghini is red, but there's so few Countachs that if you actually want one, you have to be a little more flexible on what color it is. Any car that comes to market is a potential option. But with, I've had a spread of cars. I owned a DeLorean. You want to talk about, I had to sell it because it was just, everybody thinks they're the first person to make a fucking Back to the Future joke. It's like, you just want to, I was born in 1981. I love Back to the Future. I got Back to the Future shit in my office. I have a flux capacitor over there. Like I have.
But you don't want to fucking hear about it when you're at the gas station.
From random stranger at a gas station.
But I love the DeLorean separate from the movies, but you can't. Sure. It's not possible to separate them, and people make the worst jokes. I had you want to talk about dudes? I had a Nissan Skyline. There is no more dude magnet than a Skyline. It is, to a female, that is an old gray Nissan. To a dude, it's like you're driving God.
I got to tell my son, because he's all about the Skylines. And he's wanting it.
Well, they're amazing.
He's wanting it for one. Well, he thinks they're cool, but he's wanting it for one reason only. That he's 16. So, I mean, he's trying to. I'm going to have to explain to him that doesn't pull what he thinks it's pulling.
Yeah, I don't think cars in general do, though, in this day and age.
Not in this day and age.
Try driving a frozen berry metallic fucking Boxster, my friend.
That probably does.
I've never in my life had any car that women lose their minds over. And this car, I mean, and particularly, interestingly enough, particularly black women. Black women fucking cut across lanes of traffic to take pictures of my car. They flag me down at lights. They want to talk. They love it. I mean, I get stopped all over the place by black women who fucking lose their shit when they see my car. And it's amazing. And women of all shapes, ages, and colors, but it has a particular sweet spot with black women, which I think is very funny because it was certainly unintentional. And actually, my wife, who is not a gearhead, but does like cars, and it's rubbed off on her a little bit. She has some Japanese imported cars. She has a Mitsubishi Delica van, which is the space van from the 80s, the cab over van 4x4, and she has one of those, and she has something called a Nissan POW. Do you guys know what a POW is?
POW.
No, man.
PAO.
It's like a Pajero.
Yeah,
if you have a photo of a Nissan POW, if you can pull it, PAO, it's somewhere between a Mini Cooper and like a Fiat Jolly. It's like a beach chair with wheels, basically.
Dude, the Jolly is a cool little fucking.
Yeah, Jolly's a rat. This one has doors, and Jolly doesn't have doors, so
it's almost like a little VW. What was it? VW Fox?
It's almost like a VW Squareback, or somewhere between that and a Mini Cooper and a Fiat 600 or Fiat Jolly. Like,
look at that right there on your buddy Doug's page.
Yeah, I can see that one. And my wife's has these really badass yellow fog lights and these Watanabe wheels that they're sort of the Japanese version of a Panasport wheel. And so this thing is like 60 horsepower. It's slow as dog shit, but it's just the most charming, non-threatening, you can't help but kind of smile at it when you see it. And so those get a lot of very positive attention as well. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, like if you're a single dude and you are looking to pick up chicks, square body, mid 70s Chevy pickup truck is a absolute fucking panty dropper.
Really?
Yeah, that's a look.
Dude, yeah. I'm telling you, I've driven the wildest custom cars all over, right? Yeah. And you go to gas stations and dudes come and talk to you. But between driving Phil's hammered square body and my, lifted square body, anywhere you go, dude, it's like either you get the dude with no teeth who wants to buy it off you for like $11,000,
or wants to know if you could do his landscaping.
Yeah, or I mean, goddamn, like, dude, like if you're
of all ages,
yeah, but if you're into MILFs, if the MILF thing is where you're at, I mean, dude, I'm telling you what, That is
That's
where
the ticket.
it's at. Yeah, they
Yeah.
anywhere you go.
That and frozen berry. Maybe.
Same goes same goes for like a 80s or 90s F1, early 90s F-150, same kind of vibe. The square F-150 for sure.
Yeah, I think it's
truck,
just got the truck.
the stereotypical truck. If you were to
Yeah.
draw a truck, that's exactly what it would look like.
Yeah. But the frozen berry thing is interesting. I had an air-cooled Porsche that was a color called Cassis Red, which is very similar to frozen berry. It's this sort of in different light, it shifts the colors. They would go from red to pink to gray to gold, depending on. It wasn't like a Mistachrome, but it would photograph very differently in different lights. And I had it. I had it for a while, and I brought it to my friend who's a Porsche dealer, and he goes, "Oh my God, is that Cassis Red?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, we couldn't fucking give those things away in the '80s." He goes, "They sat on the lot, nobody wanted them, and I drove one as a demo for like 6 months because nobody wanted to buy it." And I go, are you aware that there's like a $30,000 premium today on this color? And he's like, "Get out of here." But I showed him, and there is. If you want a Cassis Red 911, it's incredibly rare color, and it's beautiful. It really is a beautiful color. And so when I went to buy this Boxster Spider, I had seen frozen berry before because it was the launch color on the Taycan, the electric Porsche. So the press car was frozen berry, and I had seen it in person. I knew it was spectacular, but I didn't know it was available. And so, with Porsche people, it's like color, right? And so when I went on the configurator to build the car, I saw that frozen berry wasn't just available, it was free. It was not a paint to sample color. Damn. People are out there paying $13,000 for paint to sample and getting gray, a different gray or some boring.
It's a little darker gray.
Yeah, PTS dark blue, and you're like, bro, you spent 13 grand for dark blue? Like, get out of here, And it's fine; they can do whatever they want. But when I saw this color was free, and I just replayed that conversation with the dealer in my head, they couldn't give them away. And I went, this is going to be the color. This is it. No one is going to be brave enough to put this color on this car, and especially that it's a free color. If it's rare, that makes it even more valuable than a special paint color, the paint to sample. And as it turns out, I was right, because they only sold 10 in that color.
Whoa.
It's only available in 2022. They canceled the color for 2023.
Damn.
And of the 10, only 2 have the two-tone Spider Classic interior with comfort sport seats, and mine is one of them. So I have an accidental, very, very rare car, which I think, not everybody loves it and not everybody has to, but, you guys know, you only need the one. Or if we're auctioning cars, then you want 2. Then you need 2. And I didn't buy it for resale. I bought it because I thought the color was stunning, and I have no intention of selling it. And I don't know if you saw the rest of that post about that car, but I took the engine out and put a demand motor in it. So it's got got a 4.5.
Fucking amazing.
It's wild. Yeah. It sounds like a World War II aircraft. Is what it sounds
actually,
like.
well, so I need Phil to hear this. I've got it pulled up.
I've been really curious on the new Porsche stuff, and you brought up kind of the perfect segue into this, that the Countach and the old Ferraris were just so much more analog and tactile, and you have that connection to the car.
Mm-hmm.
How does the new Porsche, kind of have or doesn't have that feel?
Well, one of the best things about Porsche as a company wide is they provide both ends of the spectrum. I mean, they make the Taycan, the electric car that is so fast you can make yourself quite ill driving it, and it's a digital experience, but it does have Porsche steering and that low center of gravity and Porsche build quality. And so if that's what you're into, that's great. My Boxster Spider has you have to turn a key to start it. It has straps for door pulls. The top is manual. It's not even a power top. It's got a stick shift. It's very light. It's naturally aspirated. It revs to the moon. And so while I do love old Porsches, I'm not as nostalgic for them because they're they're still providing me that experience now,
Sure.
from the factory. And so I've had old Porsches before. I love them. They're great. I think everybody should own an old 911 at some point. They're amazingly usable for vintage cars. The people who have them drive them a lot, but I really like, the GT3 and the sports cars. You can still get manual transmissions. You can still get them pretty devoid of the computer in interruption. It's pretty off means off with the traction control, and so I really like that. And then when I tested Rick Demand's engine, Demand Motorsport is in New York. They do the car from the factory is a 4-liter flat six, 414 horsepower. Demand does a 4.5-liter high compression racing engine that is 565 horsepower, no turbos, naturally aspirated, and then we put that engine in. I took the stock engine out with 0 miles and put this engine in, brand new car.
Nice.
And then we re-geared the manual gearbox, so 2nd through 5th are shorter. 1st is stock and 6th is stock for cruising, but 2 through 5 we shorten the ratio, so you really go through the gears nicely.
Well, fire that up, Josh.
You have sound?
Yeah.
I don't hear it. You guys hear it?
Yeah, we hear it.
Sorry. Okay, cool. No, it's fine.
That thing sounds
If you scroll back, if you go to my Instagram page and you scroll back in time, a week or two, there's a flyby that you'll see up in the canyons.
That's a Civic.
No, go further. Go back. Go further back. Go a few like a couple weeks ago. Turn the volume up for that one.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So anyway, that's Boxster, and it's pink.
I think my ears are a little pregnant now.
Are you? That's pretty
Dude, wait,
cool.
Porsches usually don't sound that good.
I know.
Yeah,
It's hard to make them.
It's either way too modern or way too old. It's it's a really good description. It's amazing that you're not a writer.
The thing that we just blew past is we're looking through your Instagram over there, and I would consider you to be like a pretty fucking cool dude.
Yeah.
And I can't help but notice.
I'm sure he takes that as a compliment from you.
Yeah, but I can't help but notice, like, you obviously have cats for pets.
Yeah, 4 of them.
Yeah, and I too have a cat. And Josh and Phil, how do you what's going on with the cat thing and the golden doodle? Where are we at with that? That's another victory.
So
that's another point.
There's a little bit of an
owners.
internal argument between the two brothers because Phil, I have to agree, rightfully so. The cat is not, albeit a fine pet. If you're comparing them to being manly pets, the cat is not a manly pet. However, Jeremy's argument is he has basically a Bengal tiger.
1/24 scale.
Yeah, he has a 1/24 scale Bengal tiger,
Uh-huh.
right? Phil's argument is he has a dog. However, playing devil's advocate, Jeremy's argument is, yes, but that dog is a golden doodle. So a golden doodle is not exactly.
I'm not arguing the manly standpoint.
So the question is it better to have a manly cat or a femme dog? Is that what we're trying to? Okay.
Yeah.
Your 6 to 1, half dozen of the other.
Yeah, your cat is a what? What kind of cat is that?
It's a Bengal cat.
It's a Bengal.
It's a Bengal.
It is a Bengal.
That's rad. Yeah, Bengals are cool. Yeah, they're cool. I was not like always diehard cats. I kind of fell into it. My first cats, a pair of boys, I literally found in a box on the street as kittens, and I was like, it was in New York City and it was like snowing, and I took them in and with the intention of finding them a home, but after a couple days it was pretty obvious that they were home.
They were home.
And my wife and I, it's a little bit of like a Brady Bunch cat family. My cats and her cats and me kind of came together. But now we just built a house, my wife and I, and we put a bunch. We're not we're both in our 40s. We both work really hard. We're not gonna have children. That's our choice. But so we have these 4 cats. So our house has like all this. I think it's kind of cool, like cat stuff in it. So we cut passages through the walls so the cats can like go from room to room. Like if we close our bedroom door, so we could have privacy, but the cats can still get out. They're not trapped. We have a big outdoor cat enclosure that's like probably 20 by 10 with climbing trees and catwalks so they can go outside. They have their own like door into that. And we have hidden litter boxes behind the walls so you don't have to see them and you kind of get at them from the back to clean them out. Yeah, we put some neat cat stuff in our house to make the cats happy, and we have very happy cats. So
you get a point.
It's just another
you
point.
You get a point for the cats. He's a cool guy. He's got a fucking Countach, so that's a fucking point.
I noticed something different on your Instagram. It was the Porsche Dracar.
Oh yeah. It's not mine, but I did just go to Morocco to drive it. It's sick.
It's wild.
I can't believe they came out with those again. That's looks like the most fun daily driver. Sidestep that cat thing.
It is pretty fun. You know, that Cassis red car that I talked about was converted into a safari car by Lee Keen. So I actually have experience with off-road Porsches, and they're great. I mean, what's great about rally cars, whether it's a Subaru or a Miata or a Porsche, is that if a car has good dynamics on the road, it can have good dynamics on a loose surface also. It's just the grip is lower, but it will still behave mostly the same, just in a very accentuated fashion. And modern Porsches are so fast that you really can't explore their limits either legally or safely or in a way that is morally acceptable on a public road. And it's quite risky to do so on a track. You could have a big crash and hit a wall, and if you're not hurt, you've got a car that's now not covered by insurance. And so just take it to the track is a lot easier said than done, and I understand why a lot of people don't do that with their very expensive
take
cars.
it to the fucking dunes, dude. That's like
that's the thing. I mean, the desert is one of those places where you can have big slidey sideways fun in relative safety and morally acceptable, legally acceptable. And with the Porsche Dakar, they have done some really, really interesting things with the torque vectoring and the gearbox and the all-wheel drive system and the rear steer to make it a very, very easy learning curve to really sending this thing in a way that's fun and safe. And yes, it's expensive. It's like $225,000 starting, probably $250 by the time you go your paint to sample and what have you. So it's not cheap, but they don't have to seam weld it. They don't have to add any chassis reinforcement. The 911 is such a good platform out of the box that they change the suspension, they put skid plates, and they fiddle with the electronics. But from a hardware perspective, they don't have to do that much. It's really pretty ready to go. I mean, having said that, a regular 911 is a great street car, even if the roads are kind of bumpy. So you don't need a Dakar just to handle the mean streets of Boston or whatever. I've driven 911s in many, many American cities, and all but the most hardcore models are very nice to drive, even when the roads aren't perfect. So you don't need the Dakar for that. But if you're going to be in the dunes or deep snow, or on dirt, I mean, it's pretty fucking bitching. Yeah, it's pretty bitching.
I gotta ask. So it seems as though you're a Porsche guy, but not a Porsche guy. You're pretty level headed across the boards, and call a spade. And I gotta ask. We've got clients, that are fans of all different types of cars and stuff that have been in it. Is calling them P cars? Is that something that you do as if you're in the club, or is that what a douchey guy does to be in the club?
Well, I don't say that, so I don't know.
I think that answers
sums it up pretty quickly.
It's just there's a certain kind of person that says P car, and it's not a bad it's not. I don't mean this in a negative way. I'm trying to think about the people that I know who do say that, and they're all they're all Goombas from the Northeast that say that. They're all like Italians who say that kind of stuff. You know, they own restaurants and shit. It's like that. Those kind of people.
It's funny how that's the only. Every other car brand and enthusiast has their own nuances. I mean, Corvette obviously is probably the tip of the iceberg. But the Porsche guys, there's so much rich history, and there's so many different genres, and there's so many fans of different styles. There's a lot of different guys in that. Yeah, there's a lot of different. That's one that you can't. I mean, the old saying, you know, you don't judge a book by its cover is true. However, admittedly, I categorize books by their cover, right? I don't have to judge them, but
I don't judge them, but I range them on my shelf by color.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the Porsche fan and enthusiast is the, in my opinion, is the most varied of any.
You know what's
of the
funny?
cars.
There's a big gap between Porsche people online and Porsche people in person. You know, if you go to a Cars and Coffee or a track day and you talk to someone who owns a Porsche, they'll probably be pretty normal, but stay out of the forums. You know, trust me. You know, stay out of the fucking forums. It's just I mean, and that could be said for, you know,
pretty much
anything.
Pretty much
almost anything, really. Yeah, I mean, I used to, when I was younger in the Northeast, the regional section of Ferrari chat was really big in the Northeast car community, and I didn't have a Ferrari then, and a lot of people who were on Ferrari chat didn't have a Ferrari. I mean, this was literally like pre-Instagram. You know, the forum was what was there.
Yeah,
and I would just be like seeing these people post about shit and be like, this dude is worth like $80 million. Doesn't he have something better to do than this? And no, the answer was no. They didn't. They had nothing better to do.
So with all the sports cars, all the German stuff, all the Italian stuff, you do sprinkle a little bit of American muscle into.
I'm a big fan of Fox bodies.
Yeah, you've got.
I had a sick Fox body. I sold it, but it was awesome.
Yeah, it was rad, dude.
Where was it? It's up
rad.
Here. It's there. There it is. There's a painting of it, and then next to it, it was on the cover of CarCraft magazine.
Yeah, the car was sick.
Yeah, that was a really cool car, and I love Fox bodies. I love notchbacks. I started my first ever sports car was a SN95 Mustang, and I also owned a Corvette. I owned a C5 Corvette, and I've owned some American cars, and I'm not that into the older muscle cars. You know, I kind of stop at the 80s, but I've driven some amazingly built and set up stuff by people like yourselves and Art Morrison and Detroit Speed and guys that really know how to build a great car. And some of them are amazing. They don't necessarily speak to me in the same way, but there's definitely some of the newest stuff. I mean, I drove the new Z06. It's incredible. The C8 across the board is incredible. The new GT500 is incredible. The GT350 was incredible. And I've been fortunate enough to hang out with and meet some of the guys on the GM performance team and at Ford SVT and those guys they're real enthusiasts, you know, doing real solid work.
I know you've had I'd say checkered past, but it's not the right word. A less than stellar track record on driving and being pleased with modified American muscle cars. For the most part, I mean, some of them.
That's not necessarily true. I don't. There's been some bad ones for sure, but I've also been impressed with stuff. I mean, I talk a lot of shit on F-body Camaros, but the truth is, you can set those up really well. Those can be made to handle great. They're made out of Legos, but they'll go around a corner pretty good if you put the right wheel and tire and shock and spring combination.
Well, I know you're good buddies with Rogan, and we've got But, we built him that black Camaro, the '69 Camaro. I'd love you to get behind the wheel of that and put it through its paces. But we're also going to be delivering here, I don't know, sometime probably summertime. We're rebuilding his Cuda that he had and then sold.
Oh,
and then got
yeah.
back.
Yeah. That thing is that. Speaking of checkered pasts.
Well, yeah.
that Cuda's been through some shit.
Yeah.
It's been around the block.
Yeah. No, that's I owe. I need to get down to Austin to do a bunch of stuff. Tom Segura, who's down in Austin now, he has a Cayman like my Boxster with a Demand engine, and he just got a GT3 and Demand is doing an engine for that, which makes 600 horsepower, naturally aspirated out of 6 cylinders, which is pretty fucking wild. Rogan's he's got generally pretty good taste in cars. And I would like to go down there and have a go in that thing. I have, there are some shops around the country that really do exceptional work, and I've only heard good things about you guys and what you guys do. As far as I know, I've never driven one of your builds, but I'd be happy to if there's one around.
His Camaro is a pretty well sorted car. That's an all around.
Yeah.
Plenty and then some horsepower, and would you agree? It's a bitchin' car. Like it's a car you get in and you can legitimately use it every day. It's got that super analog feel, right?
And it's fast as fuck. I mean that's
what motor is it?
It's a LSA that Wagner did, so it makes it's probably about 850 horse. But it puts it down,
super necessary.
Yeah,
but it's not. Yeah, like you said,
enough.
it's not undrivable. It's definitely usable.
90%
of it. 90% of it's
on
usable.
An LS. Yeah. On an LSA, that's only somewhat tuned up from stock.
It's not over the top.
You can do that with. Yeah. And look, I think there's some people doing some really great stuff. I went down a few years ago to visit Kyle Tucker at Detroit Speed. I drove 4 or 5 of his cars, and those cars were fast as ball. I mean, they fucking went, those cars. And I've driven a few different cars that Art Morrison built, and those guys were great too. And they really showed me, would have been 10 years ago, what that can be done with those chassis that they've got up there.
But talk about the really shitty ones.
What's
the really bad ones?
The ones that you're like,
oh no, I mean the shitty ones, like the shitty ones are just like, it's the thing is, a lot of people don't know what good is. They've never gotten to experience good. So they don't have a baseline.
Yeah.
They don't know how a good car should drive and handle. And when they've only built and driven their own car, they think something is good and maybe it's not that good, but over time they figure out how to adjust their driving style to make it acceptable, or there's wheel rub and they think that's normal, or the car pulls really hard under braking and they go, they all do that. And you're like, no, they don't. So every once in a while I'll be very, very impressed. And I don't drive a lot of people's personally owned cars anymore. I did for a very long time. And this is part of the reason I don't anymore, is because I don't want to be the guy who judges your own personal build. I'd much rather be the guy who goes, here's a giant nameless, faceless corporation that wants you to spend $100,000 on their shit. Should you, or should you buy something else? Sure. Not, here's Dave. Let's see if Dave did a good job.
Dave spent the last 10 years of his life.
Dave sucks.
And so I did that for a long time, and I didn't want to continue doing it because I really wanted to get back to being in sort of the consumer advice videos, and it felt better to spend more time with the car and judge it as opposed to judge this person who's now right next to me. Every once in a while, I had met someone though who had no frame of reference, had no experience driving supercars or really well sorted cars, and would build something amazing. I mean, this guy built a 1975 Corolla that he swapped a Lexus 1UZ with a blower from a Terminator Cobra. And somehow this dude was like winning autocrosses in this car, and it drove like amazing. And I was like, I don't know where you came from, but you need a job. And I drove this RX-7 that was a video that was viewed like 10 million times. It was called the Zero Fucks Given RX-7. It was a big hit for me. And it was built by this kid Corbin, who the car looked like shit, but it went like hell. It had a Ford 302 in it and really good suspension and handled really well. And that dude went to work at Singer, the Porsche company, the Porsche tuners.
Sure.
And he's now doing his own company. He left Singer and he's now got a company, and they're making parts to turn V10 M5s into manual gearboxes, because the BMW SMG transmission is such a piece of junk. So anyway, I have been positively surprised just as many times as I've been disappointed with home built stuff. And it's certainly not limited to American cars. I mean, I've driven absolutely terrible Civics and Integras and WRXs as well. And there's every time, for every good one, there's a bad one, but most are somewhere in the middle. Most people can figure out how to not fuck their car up. But one of the biggest things I learned from driving all those people's personal cars is that even when you change them a lot, it doesn't necessarily really change them that much. I learned that it doesn't matter what you do to a WRX; they're all the same. Doesn't matter. Like, this one's 300 horsepower, this one's 500 horsepower, this one's got this suspension, this one's got this suspension. Like, doesn't matter. They're all the same.
Dude, how deep do you dig into these things mechanically before you jump in it and flog it? Because
through the canyons.
Shockingly little.
I was kind of thinking that, because I'm
God
watching
is my
that.
co-pilot.
So that Lexus powered Corolla, I'm like, that's pretty damn cool. Like, I've seen that video, and I'm like, he's fucking getting after it, and I'm looking. There looks like a very limited margin of error. That if something goes wrong, like that's the end. Like, dude, it's fucking over. And there's like, I'm looking at the dash is kind of like free floating in it, and the blower is just kind of like poking through the hood. And I'm like, there might be other things that are just kind of like in place,
Yeah. No, that's true. It's a fucking dangerous job, man. Like,
right.
You could die. You could kill somebody else. I have to be ready to write a check. If I break this car, even if it's not totally my fault, I got to be ready to write this dude a check.
Yeah.
And that's not something that a lot of people are prepared for. And fortunately, I in the beginning, now I do okay, and I've got some resources, and so that's a risk I'm willing to take. In the beginning, it was.
Oh shit!
Sketchy, figure it the fuck out.
I'm pretty sure that was already there, dude. That was definitely grinding right when I got in the car. Like, that trans was fucked already.
Yeah.
The one time, that did happen. I mean, I had a guy. I drove a car, and I think it was a turbocharged Miata, and the guy's diff exploded like half a mile into my drive.
Yeah.
And I was like, obviously I did not do this. Right. This thing. And he goes, yeah, I was kind of making noise on the way up here. And I was like, well, this is, and I didn't write that guy a check, nor should I have. That thing, that situation was put into motion well before he came to meet up with me. But it was risky. It was very risky. And I've always, in everything I've done, I've always had to assume some kind of risk. Going back to when I was putting on those drives with the car wash, one of the reasons I stopped doing that to focus on making videos was because I had 40 guys going 150 miles an hour up the freeway at 4:00 in the morning. And I was like, I got to stop doing this, because we're going to go to prison. This is going to be fucking shady as hell. So yeah. But I did it. I drove about 1,500 personally owned vehicles over a 3.5 year period. And it was fun, and it made me a bunch of money, and it helped grow our YouTube channel. And ultimately I kind of burnt out on it because, like I said, I didn't want to judge people's personal choices for their personal cars. I also just couldn't make that many videos anymore. I was just exhausted because I was doing 4 videos a week.
Damn.
Every week, which was insane. And I caught myself running checklists, because when you're making that many videos,
It's the same thing.
you don't leave room in your brain to have really original new thoughts. It's got to marinate, you know. And so now with press cars, I drive them for a week, and I typically film them on the second to last day. So I have 4 or 5 days with the car to make notes and think about what I'm going to say and read and blah, blah, blah. And I find that you end up with a more informed product. And in fact, even better than that is writing. You know, the problem with videos, and I'm not trying to bite the hand that feeds me, is, you know, you got to get it on camera now. I'm there. I'm in Morocco with the Dakar. I have to get it on camera while I'm here. And one of the things I love about my job at Road and Track, I'm editor at large of Road and Track magazine, is I get to go have an experience and then think about it for a day or two and come up with some metaphors and come up with some witty thoughts, and process that experience and then get it down on paper later and fine tune every sentence so it makes me sound really fucking smart.
That's also a legitimate difficult part. I mean, how many times can you use the word analog or disconnect or torque or plush?
Yes.
Or fuck, at some point you've got to like you said, you got to think about how to describe that very similar experience to what you just wrote about.
Yeah.
But in a different way.
Yeah.
But when you're writing,
Run it through AI.
Yeah, when you're writing
through AI, yeah.
Chat GPT is how I do it.
Yeah, you can Google that shit. Like right now, you got to just fire.
I actually have a thesaurus on my desk. That's at home where I'm writing. I actually do use a thesaurus from time to time.
You would have to.
It's not failure to go to the book.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we've done like 4 car reviews on our own stuff, and I feel like I say the exact same thing.
This one's really
car.
nice.
Yeah.
I like this one. This one's good. This one's faster. Not to transition too much, but I'm going to ask a question. It's so West Side Car Collector.
Someone just fire something up.
Oh,
was that your shop or mine? Oh, that was my shop. I just heard a V12. Yeah, no, I'm
that's definitely
I'm
your
up here at my.
oh,
there's a little
Chevelle down there.
And
Is that a
what was being started? I don't know what was being started, but
somebody.
Yeah, we got quads.
What a perfect fucking
phenomenal segue.
Yeah,
great segue. So you just recently opened up. I think you're doing a second location now of the West Side Collector Car Storage. So you open that up. You open that up at what I think would be probably horrific timing of when you were starting that. What was
it wasn't great.
What was harder? I mean, years ago, figuring out the daily changing algorithm of YouTube and trying to put out something that the consumers or your viewers engaged with, or starting from scratch a new business during a worldwide pandemic and staffing that and continuing to hire for that.
I just throw a softball out
there. Yeah, right. I mean, look, I would say the good thing about opening a luxury parking garage is that the existence of a pandemic, the cars don't go anywhere. The cars are still there. They're fine. So, it was definitely different. I mean, the construction was very hard. It took 4 years to build this place.
Yeah.
So that was very hard. I think it was we couldn't have a big grand opening party like I wanted to, and that was annoying. But, it was just a little different. It was, we thought we would open and it would be long-term collectors, just filling the place up immediately. And in the beginning, what we got were a bunch of people who, here in LA, because the weather's nice, people put, even if they have a garage at their house, a lot of times they don't use it for cars. They put their surfboards and their bikes and whatever in the garage. It becomes just like a big storage closet, and then their cars live outside. And so a lot of folks, if they had the means and the opportunity, they kind of fled the city for, when it was peak pandemic, right? So they would go to their house in wherever, Montana or Switzerland or or wherever. And so, but they didn't want to leave their Bentley outside, or they didn't want to leave their G-Wagon or their, 911 outside. Whereas normally if they were just using it as their car, it would just be outside. And so we started, maybe 25% long-term collectors, and we quickly filled up with people who were using us as sort of a luxurious version of an off-site airport lot, because we're near the airport. And as those people started to return and take their cars back, over time we transitioned a little more to longer-term collectors. Now we still do some of the high-end airport lot, and that's fine. And so, yeah, I mean, the pandemic did affect the opening a little bit, but this is a real long-term business, and we still managed to open in September and be completely sold out by February. So that was good.
Nice.
And then six months after that, September 2022, September 2021, I bought my second property, and we began developing that, and that's down in Gardena, a few miles southeast of here. And we have 125 cars here in Playa Vista, and we're going to have 200 cars down in Gardena. Playa Vista, this location is extremely premium and high end. Google is right across the street. Yahoo is across the street. The LA Clippers practice building is across the street. Actually, there's really good car history here as well. We're right off of Jefferson, which they called the Jefferson Dragway. Shelby was at the west end of Jefferson in Venice. Edelbrock was right in the middle of it, and Iskandarian, Iski Cams. Heard of an Iski Cam?
Yeah,
of course.
So they're right here on the east end. So these guys would race up and down Jefferson, which is just outside here. And so there's a lot of history of car shit on this block. And in fact, my property used to be the administration building for Hughes Aircraft, which was across the street, and is now the complex where Google and Yahoo is. Actually, the Google building is where the Hercules, the Spruce Goose, was built. That's the hangar. It's now the Google building. Pretty cool history here. So anyway, yeah. Fuck Howard Hughes. He spilled so many chemicals in the ground that I had to clean up.
It costs a small fortune, huh?
I will venture to say that's the first reference to fuck Howard Hughes on the podcast that we've had.
Oh, when you got to start dealing with those environmentals, that.
Dude, vinyl chloride. So much vinyl chloride.
I think they're pretty lax on that in California, aren't they?
You may or may
they
not.
Were now. Yeah, now.
100 years later.
You may or may not have employees listening to this. Probably not. I mean, nobody's going to listen. But to us, it has to be a different transition, though, from working pretty much for yourself and along with your friends for so many years, and then having employees that you rely on to do
white glove service,
extremely important things, but also labor. Right?
And it's very hard.
You have to deal with those guys, and that's not exactly a skill set from talking to you that you've developed over the last 20 years,
Right. You're totally right. It was very challenging. I'm not perfect at it. My general manager here, Eric, has a long history of running valet lots, 25 years running valet lots. And so he is amazing in terms of knowing all the labor laws, knowing all the tax payment schedules, and all how to make a rotation for the guys. It's not just a brick and mortar business, it's a 7-day-a-week brick and mortar business. And so that is very challenging. And so for the first year, I had myself and I think it was the right idea, running shifts. So I would run 4 or 5 shifts a week for the first year. And once I felt a little more comfortable with my management team, and I have a small staff here, but they're important and I treat them really well. And once I felt comfortable that I didn't have to be here all the time, I wrote myself out of the schedule for the most part. And that was a big milestone for me. And fortunately, nothing terrible has happened, since. And I imagine once I open the second shop in 3 or 4 months, I'll probably have to go back in the schedule for a little while and do that. And so, it has been a challenge. It's a great question. It has been very hard. COVID didn't impact it that much, but it did make us adjust a little bit. We wore masks at the office for 6 or 8 months, and so be it. But we have a lot of really happy customers. We've gotten some great feedback. The fact that I do have the Smoking Tire and this ongoing media outlet is great marketing for the business. Our podcast studio is here. So, my one business pays rent to my other business, which is helpful. And having a commercial location where I can have press cars dropped off without being here. I could have fans come by and take a tour. I can have packages and stuff. It's a place to send something where I don't have to be home to get it. There's a lot of side benefits of having a shop that go beyond earning additional income from having another business. Plus, I'm one of our biggest customers. I mean, we store 125 cars here, and 6 of them are mine. So I know what we need from the perspective of being a customer and being an enthusiast. And because I'm an enthusiast and a customer, it makes me a great spokesperson for the business. I'm not just some corporate guy who saw a dollar.
Exactly.
I had a need and I built this business to solve it.
Hats off to you, because honestly, it's make perfect sense, because you do have a lot of your customers that I'm sure are fans or enthusiasts that it does make them sleep a little easier at night knowing that their car is in the possession of somebody that is a fellow enthusiast. And
we care about the cars.
Exactly.
Like, it's not just it's not just money. I actually do want to take care of the car. There's trust me, there's way better ways to make money than doing this. This is not. I mean, don't get me wrong, I earn a fine living, but like, if you want to get super rich, parking cars is not it. Not the way I do it.
What is your hours like on? Because I'm just thinking that guy that's at the bar, 2:30, Saturday morning or Friday, it's like, hey, I want to get the fucking Bentley out, or I want to get the Ferrari out. I mean, and
we're not open 24 hours a day.
Oh, there's not like a keypad.
There's not just like he can come and get it.
No. We can't do that, unfortunately. I mean, not that I would want to, but we can't. No, we're open 7 days. We're open 7 days a week, but we are not open 24 hours a day. And fortunately, because these are, for most people, extra cars.
Right.
We've not had a situation, or I should say, we very rarely had a situation where someone needs to get in after hours. I mean, we've had, a customer's car was out and it got a flat tire. They can't take it to their house. Can they flatbed it back? It's 10:30 in the morning or at night, and I come down and I help them with that, and that, it's fine. It's not something they chose to do, but people have been like, 24 hours, and I say, look. If we were, your space would cost more than double what it cost. I'd have to staff, and I'd have to double every shift, because we're open 12 hours a day, so everything would be doubled. And
then
most people are like, you know what, it's okay.
You would find yourself in that moral dilemma too, of where
there'd be like, can you
take
help
the guy,
me grab the feet?
Yeah,
I'm gonna grab the arms. That's not where you're going.
Not the body thing.
Okay.
No,
I thought that's where you're going.
I mean, these guys that are having these secondary cars, I guarantee you, maybe it's just me, I guarantee you they'd find themselves in a position where they need to show a fellow human that car that they've been talking about all night long while they've been drinking. And
maybe.
And it comes time to
alibi.
And you'd have to be the person that denies them the keys to the drunk. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That'd be a difficult.
Yeah, no, it's, I don't know everything about everything. In fact, I know very little about many things, but I think our hours are something that I'm pretty confident about. I'm pretty happy with our hours here at West Side. And one thing that we'll get to do in Gardena that we can't do here, I'm very proud of our density here. We have 125 cars in 11,800 square feet, which is very, very difficult. And that's cool. But at Gardena, we have a much bigger property. It's not quite as glamorous in terms of being across the street from Google, but it's a much bigger property, and we have 100-space parking lot outside, so we can have cars and coffees, we can have events, we can rent the venue out for parties for our members or whatever, media launches. We can do some stuff like that. That's more fun type of things that are a little more social. Where here, Because we have, believe it or not, we have a very small parking lot outside. There's only 3 cars in the parking lot, so we don't have a lot of room. If we wanted to have a party, there's nowhere for anyone to park, ironically. So that's one of our things at Gardena, is to really grow the events business. Are
you going to be doing any service or anything, PPF or any type of stuff at the Gardena location?
We do here and at Gardena. We do detailing and paint corrections and ceramic coating and window tinting and PPF. And we have a vendor that has a tire shop in a truck, Zip Tire. We love them. They come down and they could do tires on site, which is great.
Sweet.
We are not zoned for mechanical work, nor do I really want to be involved in the business of mechanical work. But and that's the same for Gardena. But you're more superficial level of care and feeding, as it were, of the cars we can do. Yeah,
when's the Gardena
we like to probably 3 months. It's been being built for about 18 months, and it'll probably be open in about 3, I hope.
We'd love to come out there and check it out for sure.
Hell yeah.
Please do. But
we appreciate it, man.
Yep.
Dude, it was awesome.
Man. It's been awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, dude.
If you're where are you guys out of again?
North of Chicago.
Yeah.
North of Chicago.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Just
if
down
I'm
the
in
road.
Chicago.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you're ever out
definitely.
You
there,
guys,
Right,
I
if you're
assume
up
you're
by.
doing SEMA.
oh yeah.
I imagine doing SEMA, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Do you make the LA loop after SEMA? Do you come to town?
We generally don't.
Yeah, we're usually pretty worn out and just go home. and
We're
quit.
in and out.
We just left the LA.
I understand.
area.
Yeah.
We were just out in Pomona.
Oh, well,
so-
next time you're in town, please come by and see us.
dude, would love
I
to.
will have that drink with you.
Hell yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, I appreciate the time, dude. It was awesome.
For sure.
Thanks,
the
Matt.
Smoking Tire, everything on social media. And of course, if anyone out there is in LA and needs the best place in the world to store a collector car, Westside Collector Car Storage, WCCS.com.
That's where
Thanks,
it's at.
guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Take it easy.
Have a great rest of your evening.
You
Cheers.
too. Cheers. Big thanks again to Matt Farah. Remember, you can learn more about Matt by checking out his Instagram at The Smoking Tire or by subscribing to his YouTube channel. Next up, it's time for the RoadsterShop Hall of Fame. You know what the Hall of Fame is?
I do.
Do you need a refresher?
No, I remember it's been a minute. But
Is there a jingle for the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame, or is that
No.
Springsteen's doing
Yeah,
that one
he's
too?
doing that one too.
with the amount of money we spent, we're not going to soil that. We'll just wait for it.
Hall of Fame! Hall of Fame!
Stop it.
Oh, sorry.
It's coming soon.
All right. But it's not.
Oh, it's
That's the bad part.
Oh, I thought it was. I thought we
No.
were seriously doing that.
He never returned the emails. We'll reach out to Kid Rock next.
I get down with some Kid
Kid
Rock.
Rock could do a fucking jingle.
I'll bet he can.
Yeah, no, he could.
You can get an impersonator on the Instagram.
For those that don't know, this is a segment where we take a few minutes to talk about some of our most favorite vehicle builds, the iconic builds, or just vehicles that were a ton of fun for the Roadster Shop to create. What do we have this week for the Hall of Fame?
Hey, we've got
Huh?
we've got a forgotten one, and I'm surprised this didn't come up before.
A forgotten car.
Yeah, the '68 Survivor Camaro. It was our first spec Survivor Camaro build, which is a fantastic car.
Just went away.
Yeah, bring it up there, Josh.
Bring it back.
Come on now.
There it is.
This is a pretty pivotal one in the Roadster Shop career here.
What color is that?
I don't know. I think some call it gold, some call it green. What would you call it?
I don't know. I thought there was like somebody.
There
was
is
doing
a
that.
legit
There's-
color
there's-
name for it.
There's a
but-
name for it.
Is that Mountain Mist, or was that
That's a Mountain
James
Dew color.
Shiro?
I
No,
think,
there's
or Mountain Dew flavor.
James's Camaro was Mountain Mist, or this one was. One of the two of them was.
It's very possibly could be Mountain Mist.
75% chance of it being right or wrong, but
Yeah,
comment down below
Right.
if you know the color,
At
because
any
we
rate,
don't.
really, really, really nice original car that we started with. And that was our first Camaro on our spec Camaro.
That's what we
chassis,
designed the whole Spec Camaro line off of.
which is a car that has seen a tremendous amount of use. man, I mean, just a great car. I daily drove that car for a long time. Used that car, drove it everywhere, took it on road trips, took it on road tours, did everything in that car. We went out to the Super Chevy shootout. The car just cranked out there. A great customer of ours now owns it.
Joe,
Dave Garfield.
Yeah, there's Joe. He's asleep. Joe is fast
Taking a
asleep
nap.
on the forklift, but,
Dave Garfield of
Garfield's Liquor and Beverage Emporium.
and Garfield's Beverage Warehouse.
Yeah,
But
multiple businesses.
yeah, Dave is now the proud owner of the car, which interestingly enough, the car went to Dave and now the car is perfect. It's funny when you own something and you kind of deal with like its imperfections, you know? So while we owned the car, we ran it, we raced it, we autocrossed it, all with that split bench with the worn out like springs and foam. And it had
armrest with cup holders, though. That was nice.
yeah, we did modify the armrest, put some cup holders in it. It had what I would consider to be
It's a young.
hands down the world's worst transmission. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's
What transmission would that be?
I don't think they're in business anymore, so it's no problem to say it, but a Legend 5-speed in that car. Everything that was good about that car
Was negated by
was
that
negated by
transmission.
that transmission. First, second, forget about third because that shift to third was
Not happening.
useless. Well, even the first second under power.
Anything over like 3,500 RPMs, you couldn't shift from one gear to the other. It either wouldn't come out or wouldn't go into the
So it
next
was
gear.
worse than a TKO?
Yes.
Yeah, useless. You didn't been better off with a power glide in it, or just like a Briggs and Stratton clutch.
Like
I don't know.
Go-kart?
Yeah, right. But at any rate,
triple
once
flex.
that was communicated with Dave. When Dave got the car, we fixed all the things that were imperfect with it. So the seat was never great. We changed that seat over to
The young Mike.
it is a pair of Recaro buckets that we recovered to kind of look like in the original vinyl. Swapped it over. Buller did a T56 for it, and swapped out the American Racing 5-spokes, which looked pretty cool on the car. But Dave wanted to update it with those the OE1 RS wheels, and it just really made that like the perfect car. That thing is, and still to this day, it's probably one of the higher mileage cars. There to zoom in on that.
Probably like 40, 50,000 miles on the thing now.
We can't really track it because this car started at the beginning of Dakota Digital's like awesome
Right there.
Zoom in,
That's
zoom
it.
out. Yep.
Dakota Digital's awesome gauge rollout. So it started with their very first carbon. What was the carbon?
VHX.
VHX. And then we transitioned to the HDX.
Yep.
And then once Dave got the car, we updated it to the RTX. And we never really talked to Justin about like updating the mileage, but that car's probably got 40, 50,000 miles on it. And just a great, great driving
Almost
car.
as many miles as it does have gauges in it.
And transmissions.
Yeah. But super clean car, super fun car to drive. Looks great with the torque thrust.
Yeah,
Looks
I
great.
dig it with the torque thrust on
Yeah.
it.
That's just a classic wheel, that torque thrust.
You should try a round 7 or 8 with the new Forge Line RS5s on there.
I think what Dave was talking about that, actually.
May have to make that happen.
Yeah, got a Texas speed motor in it. Just a proven package.
Fun car. Lots of miles on it. Lots of fun stories.
Lots of fun memories.
That was the car that was actually driven on the famous bourbon decanter story.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Just
I'd
throwing that out
just
there.
throw that out there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, rewind like 47 episodes to listen to the bourbon
Pipe
decanter
that
story.
in.
There's a couple fans that probably know exactly
one-
what we're talking about.
Kind of started us in the whole Survivor Series build, the patinaed Camaros. We needed to get a chassis on the road quickly for all the R&D improving and didn't want to spend the time body working and painting a car, but also didn't want to buy something that was already painted and then maybe get the reputation for not a nice body and paint job. So
Yep.
found a killer original paint, heavily patinaed Camaro to get on the road quickly, and I think kind of found a niche with that in the Survivor Series builds after.
Dude, I like looking at the fucking pictures. I want that car back. That car looks good.
It does look good.
I think it's the Target parking lot that's really doing it.
Could be. Dave's got great taste in cars.
He does.
Oh, I forgot about that salt flat or
we've done
sand dunes trip with that thing.
Yeah, we've done some cool shit with that car. Thing's been everywhere.
Was that in Utah or Colorado?
Oh, wait. Back up. One picture. That is where, who was it? Smunt? Who was the one that left the gas cap?
That was Smunt. Yep.
Yeah. Early Smunt. That was an early Smunt.
That's before he had like a killer
You
haircut.
fucked that one up.
Yeah, joining the team. Left
This-
the gas cap, the original gas cap, sitting on top of the gas pump
This is in
somewhere.
Is it not? This is in Nevada, right?
Could be. That's why I
At the
asked.
sand dunes.
Yeah.
That's where they do the they had a military base like testing and stuff out there. We drove through that road. That was wild.
Out in the middle
out
of
there.
nowhere, and then there's just sand dunes and yeah. Then we did the dry lake bed in outside of Vegas with it.
That was fucking awesome.
That thing's been on like 4 road tours.
Yeah, that's
That's you know what this picture
Big
was
Sur.
Oh,
Oh, that's the groundhogs.
The
Yeah,
squirrels.
the squirrels. Yeah.
What was the squirrel's? The one squirrel's name?
Geppetto.
Giuseppe.
Giuseppe. Yeah.
Giuseppe.
Dude, every once in a while I get the memory pops up on my phone with. I've never seen such like personable squirrels before.
Oh, they were the friendliest. Yeah, that was
Hand
a fucking
You
feeding
could
trip.
hand feed
Yeah,
squirrels
hand
that came
feeding
out
the
of the
squirrels.
ground.
That was a fucking trip.
That was a good one.
We got to do another road tour. There's the
Dry
salt
lake
flats.
bed.
Yeah. Or the dried dirt.
Yeah. Hey, looking at these pictures, it makes me just think we need to do more cool stuff. Who
Yeah.
took those pictures?
That'd be Chris.
God damn, Chris.
Chris
Hey,
Gray.
should we clap it up for that? That's
Yeah, give it's slow.
A clap.
That could be one of the better pictures I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
go back one.
Yeah. That's poster quality.
That right there. It-
One back.
Right there.
Yeah.
Chris, step your game up. Get back in this.
There, right
Yeah.
there.
I think it was actually made into a poster. Actually,
Quite possibly the best picture ever taken
probably.
in the history of pictures. People will look back on this picture
And what would they
several
say?
thousand years from now and say that quite possibly could be one of the better pictures taken.
It could be an overstatement, but
Just a skosh.
yeah, I get where you're going. Building point and platform of a multitude of cars, hundreds, quite possibly thousands of cars actually since then.
Chassis for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Started the spec chassis.
Assuming the cars are on
started
top
the
of the
Survivor
chassis.
build.
Yeah. I wonder if Dave knows what he's got.
Don't tell him if you want to buy it back.
Yeah, you should buy it back before this podcast airs.
You know, these things depreciate.
Right.
Dude. Like
Dave. Yeah.
the economy's not doing real well.
I know. the
According
whole-
to Matt Saxon, it's a 30% decrease. At least
Yeah.
when he tried to buy my truck, that
Yeah,
was his
exactly.
logic.
We
so.
inspected it. There's like,
Yeah. The whole Emporium thing. I know it's
Right.
that's cool. Try to buy it back.
what we need to do is get the Trans Am done. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, it'd be another option.
Yeah.
Because it's every bit as cool.
That's a lot of car for a small guy like you.
The fuck's that supposed to mean?
It's a lot of car and horsepower for a guy of your size.
Interesting.
Did that? I mean,
I'm waiting for the
was
rebuttal.
I,
just
was I
wondering.
unclear?
I'm wondering how many people watch this on YouTube versus listen to it on Spotify
To
see
see-
if it's worth whooping your fucking ass.
I'd be interested if it'd be better to watch the ass whooping or hear the ass whooping and picture
I
it.
feel like that.
That's
The,
honestly
the
I'm
sound of
with
the
you on
ass,
that.
the sound of the ass whooping could be pretty cool.
Ow! The Trans Am's gonna be a fucking cool car. A lot of motor though. A lot of motor.
You know who won't be riding in the Trans Am or driving the Trans Am?
Go out on a limb here.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Josh?
Yep, that you are correct.
So you can start this podcast out off air saying probably 12 to 13 hurtful things about me.
Dude,
But
I'll
I
tell you
say
what.
one thing. I said it's a lot of motor.
If it were
He said a lot of hurtful
if
things
it were-
on air,
If
too.
it were freezing cold and your little fingers were frostbitten and I was driving the Trans Am, I would still not pick you up in it. I wouldn't let you ride in it, even in that scenario.
Interesting burn.
Yeah.
That's how
You will-
strong you
yeah.
feel about it.
Yes. Your fingers will decay. You will die before you ride in the Trans Am.
Honestly, that's less hurtful than what you said before we got
it
on
really?
air. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You'll take it back. You
I
will
will
take
not.
it. Yeah, you will. You'll take it back. Well,
Whiskey review.
whiskey review. What are we drinking tonight?
We're drinking a Calumet 10-year.
What?
Calumet 10-year.
We had to make sure to not miss this whiskey review this evening because this is a banger.
Yes, I was excited to try this one. Actually, second time having it. Big fan. I had the.
So you were just excited to have it again.
The words came out wrong. It's going back to what Matt Farah said, where you can write it and it sounds better.
Yeah.
I love
That's
whiskey.
where that was at. You team up and whip
I
his
know.
ass.
I think he's going down. I really do think that this is the night.
My time has come.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm done. Here, you review it.
No, go ahead.
This is whiskey. It's good.
It's
I know. I mean to jump in there like that. It's just,
No, you're fine.
Yeah. The Calumet 10-year, I have gotten, is it the 8 and the
8, 15, 16. They've got a. They're the
what's
only
the blend?
guys.
It's the 8 and the 10 or 8 and the 12 or something. I
It
haven't
was
tried
a
it yet.
green label, right? Or green or red?
Red. Red.
They're the only guys out there that really have some age statements with their bourbons right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That-
newer bourbons that have
Yeah.
age statements on them. Yeah, I rocked the 15-year like a year ago and was big fan of that. They had a 14-year and then a 16-year. Tried the 10, was a real big fan, bought a second bottle of it. And yeah, just excited to drink that one. It is a definite seek it out, buy it. It's still reasonable. I think it was like $60.
yeah, it's in that ballpark.
I mean, 10-year-old small batch. This is 50 barrels. Is what it says on there.
Probably should buy another one then.
Batch of 50 barrels, 100 proof. It's really good. Honestly, all their stuff has been good.
I'd
And
say
but it all has different nuances, and you can taste the difference between them. They've all been really good
Yeah, like
I'd say-
the 15-year was a lot thicker, like oily,
in your mouth.
in the glass and in your mouth. But
well, we always talk about like, is it a buy it or not buy it? I'm going to say for the first time in a long time, that's one. Grab 2 bottles of it because that's when you need to have a backup bottle because it's
You're
that
going to
good.
drink one.
It's that good that you want to drink it and not feel guilty about as much of it as you drink.
Do they do a non-age statement, Calumet? Or does all their stuff have age statements?
I don't know.
they've got a few other ones. All that bottle shape is relatively new. They had some other ones. They've got the big square one.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like I want to say like a 16 or 18 year.
It was
maybe,
always
or
a
14
higher
year.
end
Yeah,
bourbon, right?
but yeah, I never got it. And then they came out with these and bought a 15-year and was a big fan. Got 2 of the 10 years. You guys each got the red bottle, whatever that is.
I got the blend and then the other younger year. I think it was 8-year, and then there's it's like an 8 and a 15 blend or something like that.
Yeah, it's obtainable though. You do come across it pretty regularly. I feel like that's going to be one of those ones that in like a year from now,
You were pissed off you drank it and it's worth like
yes,
$2
everybody's
grand.
going to be seeking it out, and that's going to be the one that's like trading for like $300, $400, $500.
If you see a Calumet anything, grab it.
Yes,
10-year, the blue.
it's probably the standout of the group.
It's really
I
good.
think. Yeah. So
What's the numbers? Tail of the tape. Phil.
Oh, it's been a while since they put
Yeah.
numbers on things. I don't remember where we were at.
Pretty simple. 1 through 10.
it's been a minute since we've reviewed, dude. We got to.
I get that. I get the rating system. I need a point of reference, if you will.
I want to say I'm gonna.
Good is 10. Bad is 1.
Incredible is
You mean to
10.
read- you mean to
Good
read
is
Well,
some
fire. I'm going to throw something out there because I want to say, like, without knowing what we've rated things, because it's been probably like 6 months.
yeah.
I want to say this is like a 8.2, 8.3.
Whoa.
That's a great bourbon. So I'm gonna.
What
give
else
it a
has been in
hefty
that
rating.
range? I was thinking upper sevens, like 7.8, 7.9.
All right.
But I have no
So I'm
point
getting
of
up-
reference
yeah, I'm
from these
getting up there.
numbers.
You're saying 7.8, 7.9. You're
It's
saying
it's a
8.3.
totally made
No,
up
I know.
number.
Show me where a Kentucky Para Blanton's is at, because those are the ones. That's what I'm thinking of. Right
All
here.
right, hold on. Let me get there. Kentucky Par, Phil was a 7.6. Jeremy was an 8.1. Josh was an 8.1.
God damn.
And you said a Blanton's. I'm pretty sure Blanton's was a mid-8s, but let's get there. 8.5 all the way across.
On Blanton's.
Mhm.
Okay. Dude, I honestly, I think
Okay.
I reviewed this right then.
You're saying high 7s, low 8s. Just IW Harper Cab Cask was an 8.0 for Phil, 7.9 for Jeremy, and an 8.1 for me.
It's higher than the cab cask.
Okay.
Yep.
The Hancock's Reserve was the last one we did. It was an 8.3 for Phil, 8.6 for Jeremy, and an 8.3 for Josh. Hancock's Reserve you can find anywhere.
Right.
Absolutely. Everybody knows
Mobile
that.
station.
Right. Everybody can get that. Birthday was low 9s across the board.
It's not that level.
Right. I'm just giving everybody some. Elmer T. Lee was 8.5 for Phil, 8.2 for me, and 8.75 for Jeremy.
All right, dude. All right, you said enough.
Okay.
You're rambling now, dude. Like you're just going.
You asked for. This is fucking today's the day. Just mark it down.
Can I get a GoPro and watch you two go at it?
No, we're tag team.
It puts it in perspective. I mean, I think that's. I'm gonna stay with that. What did I say?
You're
8.2,
8.3.
8.3.
You said 8.3.
I'm gonna bump mine up to an 8.2.
Yeah. You're supposed to do it with your. Sniff it with your mouth open.
Sniff it with your mouth open.
Breathe out through your nose as you're drinking.
On one foot while rubbing your stomach.
Hit it, Josh. Where we at?
I think. Hate to piggyback off Phil, but I think Phil's right at 8.2. He's good. That was a fucking good one. It's good. It really is good.
We have to run out and get another bottle because we.
Honestly, if you're over 7s, I mean, you're splitting
Dude,
fucking hairs.
What's good about that bottle is that at the price point, that's the one that you can grab when you have some friends over, snag that bottle every time.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
Except that they only made 50 barrels of it.
Well, I think this batch. Okay. I think that, yeah. So each one of them is a small batch. This bottle came from a batch of 50 barrels. The next bottle you get from a different. It's got the batch number on there.
Like in comparison, let's say you've got a Weller Special Reserve, you've got an IW Harper 15, and you've got that sitting on the shelf, and you got some buddies over, and you don't want to deplete the goodness, right?
Okay.
But you want everybody to enjoy
Okay.
the bourbon that you're serving up.
That's a different angle.
See where I'm going?
Yeah.
Great fucking bourbon.
Because it's what's funny. I mean, again, we're not whiskey connoisseurs, but we've drank a good bit of whiskey.
Drink a lot of whiskey.
And we've been around a lot of different people and different levels of whiskey enthusiasts, right? Depending on the group that you have over, right? This would do nothing for some groups. The bottle look, right?
Oh, I love the bottle.
No, I know. The name, the brand, everything, as good as it is, a Weller Special Reserve, to some guys be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And that's not anything bad, but depending on their knowledge, right? Entry level or whatever it is, the Weller name still carry the Weller, the Blantons, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's got the name.
It's got the name. However, because of it's becoming so much more difficult to find, the Weller and the Blantons is also one of the ones you're like, yeah, I know it's cool, but like, try some of this Calumet because it's fucking really, really fucking good, and I can still get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's Old Elk, same way.
Yeah.
Like it's a really, really, really good drinker, and you can still get it.
Yep.
And I would say if you don't know, even if you do know, it's hard to tell the difference in what you're drinking between something like that and
Right.
a rare bottle that's allocated.
I'd say like you're you got the right idea there because you're grouping those all. That's the sweet spot to group all those.
Yes.
You've got your like top shelf, right? With this is like your Pappies and your things that you're just not going to touch.
Super rare.
Yeah. That's your second to top shelf. Your Calumet, your IW Harper. You've got, your weeded old elk.
Right.
That's that lineup.
And it's
right
funny
there.
because you're not. Again, we're not. This is talking honest. We're not trying. You don't want to show. You're not trying to show off for a guest, but you want the guest to feel appreciated. That you're going to give them something that they perceive as really good, right? So sometimes you got to explain, like, guess what? I know that's got the name and this stuff, and you almost feel like I'm not lying. It's really
there's
fucking
the ones
good.
that are really good that don't have the name, and the ones that have the name that aren't really good.
Yes, exactly.
That-
It's difficult. And then you've got the guys that are just, they know, or they're just like, I trust you. Fucking pour me something. Like, I believe you. It's an, I don't know. I don't know if this makes any sense. It's not a posturing thing, and it's not a showing off thing. You want to show gratitude to that guest with, a good pour.
The goodness.
Right.
Yeah,
I was talking to Dave a little bit about that of
Dave Garfield's Liquor and Beverage Emporium Superstore.
Ooh, and another you're adding a fifth tail on that one.
Huge.
He's gonna
It's gonna be the longest business card ever.
Dave is gonna pull his projects from here.
I think it's good advertising.
He likes
maybe.
it. He likes it. Yeah. I got the blessing from him. So
But no, you're talking like he's the amount of people that just walk in, look at the shelf. Do you have Blanton's? No, and then turn and walk out.
yeah.
Like it needs to be like a good level of education on this other stuff that's as good or better that you can get, but doesn't have the name yet. And are you looking for the name, or are you looking for something that's good to drink?
At the end of the day, it sucks because it does cost some money. If after a few months of if you're brand new into it, I did the same fucking thing. I chased the fucking names, and I did that. I walked in. If it didn't have the 4 or 5 or 6 that I had Google researched, or buddies that I respected in bourbon told me to get, if it didn't have that, I would walk out. At a certain point, you've got to get to the point where you've got to just try, and you've got to just start grabbing stuff. And that's honestly the most fun in
The wild card.
hobby is just trying. It sucks because sometimes you can get. We've all bought that either $60 to
bottle.
$100 bottle, and you're like, this has got to be good. And you're like, ugh, you know what? This is not that good. But you've also gotten a $40 bottle. I mean, what was the Ezra Brooks a couple of years ago?
Yep.
That was a $40 bottle, and it was like, let's give it a shot. That shit was good.
Dude,
Or
the Chattanooga?
Yeah, the stuff not Chattanooga. Clyde Mays at Alan
Yeah,
Johnson's.
that Alan. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really
Phenomenal.
awesome. And at the end of the day, you've just got to try. Right. What we have seen, and coming again from a strictly amateur, your fucking palate, and I'm not using palate in like a high-end way, your taste changes so much depending on what you ate that day, that night, the stuff, things taste different. And there's sometimes I'm like, that shit's actually pretty good. And you go back to it a few weeks, after that, and you're like, I thought I really liked that. I put that up on the shelf because I really liked it, and I don't really like it tonight. Things just change. When you're getting into below, above bottom shelf, just fucking try it.
Blind taste test.
Yeah, 100%. That's just the way it is. I mean, there is some standards, obviously. If you see Weller, fucking buy it. That's everybody that's getting into it knows those names. But there's also a lot of really good shit that's not those names that you come across. You're like, fuck, this is good. I don't want to talk about IW Harper anymore because I'm afraid that's going to be difficult to find here soon. But and the Calumet shit's the same way.
It's a banger.
That was a long ass review, but
It's worth it, dude. It's worth it. This is a special one.
8282 and an 83 for the Calumet 10-year, the blue label. For those that are not watching and just listening,
I feel like we got to do a flight on a couple of these. Some of the Calumet 10, 14, 15, 16, and maybe a couple of the old Elks.
yeah, we need to have somebody come in and pour the flight blind so we don't know what it is.
Those two brands are worthy of.
Well, under the radar.
Old Elk shit. The Old Elk just came out with a new one. That's their. It's a new one. It is. Yeah.
So not old.
It's brand new. It just came out. No, it's a something cask finished. I don't remember what it is, but it won whatever. You know, they've got all those awards that every year they do, but it just won some
medals
awards.
and shit off of it.
Yeah, gold medals, something cask finished. We'll have to keep our eyes out for that one.
I had the sherry cask finished one. It's a year or two old. I wasn't a huge fan of. It was the only one I didn't like out of their collection.
Brand new.
I'll tell you what, out of their whole collection, I think the Infinity blend, which is their highest end, is probably the one I don't know that I'd buy again.
For the price, I'd take the weeded over that.
Yeah, the price versus the proof.
Yeah.
It's high proof. It's a burner.
Yeah.
You were a big fan of it. You liked the flavor.
I liked it. I liked the flavor.
I got a lot of chest burn.
Yeah, it did have some chest burn, but I did like the flavor of it. And that, again, it could have been the night. Sometimes you just like that that oaky,
what did you
really
have,
bourbon.
What did you have in your mouth prior to that maybe made that not taste the best?
Fireball.
Now is about the time we wrap this show up. I'm telling you what, dude, I might lose. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to take the fucking shot.
At what? What are you talking about?
Me and your brother are going to take you down after this.
Stay tuned for behind the
scenes.
scenes.
Stay tuned for behind the scenes. Thanks again for everybody listening to the Oil and Whiskey with the Roadster Shop and Ironclad Original. If you like the show, be sure to leave us a rating and review. What do they say to do?
Smash that like button.
That's what I wanted to hear. Thanks again to our guest, Matt Farah. We'll see you again next week.